the old way of automation is now different.
No matter what new technology happens, whatever new AI is like, if you follow the principles always work.
Can you break us down the actual selling system that you were just mentioning before?
Who's my market? What's the media that I'm going to use? And then what's the message that I'm going to choose to speak to them?
You mentioned paid ads, right? How does it work?
I think the biggest thing about the principles is you can take the thing and put it on different mediums.
What was the ROI like being on his podcast? Because it was on there for a long time.
It's like a rolling ROI. Very true.
So from a business standpoint, what does client success look like in your company?
So we have 11 principles as a company.
It's like, why? Like, what's the point of doing the ad if it still doesn't exist?
Most people jump to different things so fast though. This time next year, long as the offer is still relevant, people will watch this episode, they'll still see that ad a year from now. You get what I'm saying? So they pretty much.
So good. I forgot. What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode on the Black Rockefellers podcast, where we talk about everything family business, digital investments, and entrepreneurship. And you already know we have an amazing guest here today. Look, before we get to this guest, I need you all to know that leads. Exposure is super important, but I want you all to understand it's not even about that. It's about how you run things on the back end. Right? How are things on the back end? How can you actually control the leads and not have any leakage? All right. And today we got my man here, Marquel Russel. Appreciate you being on here, brother.
Appreciate you having me.
Right. He gonna show you all the sauce. So can you break down what you do, how you serve people, kind of give them a little bit about what you do?
For sure. So ultimately what we do is we help businesses who want to attract more clients. They have an amazing service. They have an amazing program or whatever. And they want to attract more people. Right. And they want to do it without doing word of mouth or relying on word of mouth, without hustling, grinding, figuring out, okay, where is my next client going to come from? So we basically help them put together these automatic selling systems so they can take somebody from complete stranger to click to client in a complete automated way. So that's essentially what we do.
Nice. Now, you mentioned automation, and AI is big now.
100%.
So the old way of automation is now different.
Yeah.
So like, what are some things that you've now switched up within your own business or your own teachings where people are leveraging AI, or are you even leveraging AI at all?
I mean, to be honest with you, man, it's going to sound kind of crazy, but I think a lot of people on the internet are like up in arms about AI. Like it's like a new thing, but in reality, AI has been around. You know what I'm saying? We've been using Siri. Even if you like, I think Google started doing this like a year or two ago. It's like when you reply to an email and it gives you those already prompted responses. You remember that?
Yep.
It's like that's AI. Like Google been doing it a couple years, right? So it's like and even like text message when it like automatically gives you some replies. Everything that we do is like principle based, right? Because and of course no matter what new technology happens, whatever new AI is like, if you follow the principles always work. Right.
Gotcha.
And a lot of our stuff is direct response, tracking based. So now okay, if we put $1 into this, we get $3, $4, $5, $6. And this is principles have been around hundreds of years.
ROI,
and it never like the technology changes, but like the principles never change.
Right. Okay. So the principle, like, can you break us down the actual selling system that you were just mentioning before? Yeah,
for sure. So when it comes down to marketing, right? So first and foremost, okay, you figure out, okay, it's three things. So you figure out who's my market, right? What's the media that I'm going to use, right? And then what's the message that I'm going to choose to speak to them? So a market. So let's say, for example, you sell, let's say, okay, people who have family businesses or looking to build family businesses, right? So that's the market, right? And of course, it's a lot deeper in terms of psychology, demographics, psychographics, that type of thing, because it's a lot of people who have families, but I want to do a family business, right?
Right.
So where are they mentally? Where are they emotionally? How do they make decisions? That type of thing. So we dive deep into like the market. Then it's like, okay, medium, like where do they hang out at? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on a mixture of two, right? And then when you're speaking to them on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or Instagram, what kind of message do you speak to them? And then how you speak to them on the Facebook ad, and then how you're going to speak to them on a Google ad,
Right.
It's probably going to be a little bit different because if they're searching Google for a certain thing, the intent is different. So you're going to speak to them different. So it's the media and the medium, and then it's the message. Like, what is the message that we're using? So now we're crafting that, and now you're basically taking, because I come from, I used to do like telemarketing a long time ago, right?
Right.
And I even
remember
did,
those days, boy.
Exactly. And I even did, I sold Kirby's as well one time. So selling and things of that nature has always been fine for me, right? Some people did door-to-door sales and so forth.
I did those.
But imagine being able to take, and the cool thing is, like, when you go door to door, or when you're selling Kirby's, or when you're doing telemarketing, you basically got a sales message, right?
Right.
So when you create this automatic selling system, you're taking that one sales message, and now you're basically duplicating yourself. So now I got this sales message going 24 hours, 7 days a week on Facebook. We got this sales message going 24/7, 365 on Instagram, and now we're getting in front of them on these mediums, and then we're bringing them through this process. So now when I'm asleep, or when I'm traveling, or when I'm on field trips with my kids, people are seeing this sales message, and then they're already selling themselves on us helping them solve this particular problem. So now we're taking that and we're just duplicating that into other service-based businesses who are looking to sell more of their stuff.
That's crazy because I knew your ad before I knew you.
Yep.
Right? I always saw you on YouTube ad, like on a YouTube ad. And I think it was like orange and green, I think, in the background or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a TV, from where I'm looking. The TV was on my right, your left.
Yeah.
Right? And it had like Client Attraction, or was it?
Client Attraction University.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I always saw him, I was like, one, I thought it was always aesthetically pleasing to see, right? Because it was quality. It wasn't like, I'm on my phone, or it's like, it's nowadays, it's like, the quality is coming back.
Yep.
It used to be like where the phone was the authenticity,
Yep.
and it always worked. But like, people will always want quality, and I felt like with your YouTube ad, it was always like aesthetically pleasing, where it was quality at all times, and then the message was clear.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like at the time, ads what we were looking for. So I think at one time I might have bought like an ebook or something at the time. This was like 2021 maybe or something like that, or I can't remember when the ad was, but. It's kind of crazy because now you're here. You know what I'm saying? And, we know each other personally. But just it's the fact that you are running the play as you're teaching the play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, you mentioned paid ads, right? Now, the thing is, there's different types of paid ads. Yeah. Like, is there a certain type of ad that you're wanting to choose, or you're doing all of them? Like, how does it work?
So we do, when it comes to like, because like of course you can do paid ads. You can do paid ads on radio. You can do things of that nature, right? But I think the biggest thing about the principles is you can take the thing and put it on different mediums. So one of the things, so of course social media ads are super powerful because that's where everybody's hanging out. Correct. So if it's like Facebook, I think Facebook is the simplest and it's the most dynamic when it comes to like the level of targeting that you're able to do when it comes to Facebook, right? Google, YouTube is going to be a little more complex. People got different intent based on that as well, right? The cool thing is, like, once you got the principles, now you can take it on the other platforms. A lot of things, and you mentioned it before we started, like ads on your podcast. Right. It's like a lot of people don't really understand the power of that, right? So like, for example, last year, I basically bought the pre-roll spot on my guy Dave. You might have saw my ad on there. Dave's thing, his podcast for like, I think a year or like 6 months or something. But like,
David Shands. Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I always heard it was like that man was going crazy over your ad.
Yeah,
for
and it was easy. It was easy, and it was authentic because I helped Dave with his business, right? So now he could easily co-sign it. So it wasn't like, hey, he paid for an ad spot, so I'm trying to be genuine. But it was like, no, I paid for the ad spot, and he can actually share his personal story. So a lot of times you got to understand, okay, where are my people hanging out? What is their challenge? What is the message? So now you can take these ads and you can run them on anywhere, whether it's the radio, whether it's a billboard, right? Because a lot of times, I mean, people don't really maximize most people don't know how to advertise on the billboard, but it's like if you got a solid message, now you can leverage that on the billboard if you want to, or vending, right? A lot of times people try to vend. I know y'all are masters when it comes to vending, but a lot of times people will go vend, and then it's like, ain't nobody come to their booth because it's like, don't nobody really know why. The message ain't clear. Why should I come to yours past these other ones?
That's very important. Or the intention is not there.
100%.
So we believe that attention is currency.
Yep.
right? So like if we can gather your attention, we can tell you what we do.
100%.
Because Invest Fest was last time. Even though with our messaging could have actually been better at Invest Fest, right? But it worked in our favor because we had so much of people's attention that it didn't matter in their eyes. They just was like, I just want to know what y'all do.
Yeah.
It just made them want to say something because of how great it was, right? And I feel like that's how everyone's content should be.
Yeah.
So I want to ask this. You like you said, it doesn't matter the medium, right? As long as you get the ROI. Now, this is a personal question. I like asking selfish questions on my podcast, right? So you said that you got an ad, one of the ads, paid ads, on David Shan's podcast. Yeah. Now, for people who are unaware, David Shan is a podcaster, right? A really, really huge podcaster 100%. In the entrepreneurship space, right? And so what was the ROI like being on his podcast? Because it was on there for a long time.
Yeah, it was on there for a minute. So I would say, I mean, to be honest with you, man, it's tough to give like a specific number because it's like a rolling ROI, right? So like, for example,
what do you mean?
So I'm gonna give you an example. So I'm going to assume, let's say somebody buys an ad on this show, right? And then you run this show and the podcast runs. Do y'all go back in and cut the episode? Do y'all cut the ad out at a certain point? Right. So this time next year, long as the offer is still relevant, people will watch this episode. They'll still see that ad a year from now. You get what I'm saying? So they pretty much
so good. I forgot. I forgot.
So they pretty much bought an asset. They pretty much bought a spot on the
Evergreen.
asset. Evergreen.
Oh my God. I forgot. See, the thing is, I know the space. Yeah. So like I know how ads are running. Like I'm thinking, when I hear it, it's there. Yeah. Forgetting that it's a whole video and audio. You get what I'm saying? That stays on the actual platform
stays on
forever.
The platform forever.
That's
so a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you should be getting leads from that same ad, long as the offer stays relevant.
You know what? I always hate it when people delete the offer on an ad. Like I've been to podcasts where there's the ad from maybe like 3 years ago, and I want it, and it doesn't exist. It's like, why? Like, what's the point of doing the ad if it still doesn't exist long term? Do you know what I'm saying?
Most people don't think long term though. Most people are thinking like in the moment, but they're not really thinking long. I mean, what does it cost you to keep a domain up? But you got to think. But you got to think. Most people jump to different things so fast though. So sometimes by that time they didn't jump to a whole other. Like 1 minute they're a crypto expert, then that kind of goes away. Relatively goes away. Now they're traders, and that goes away. Now they're real estate. So it's like 90 days later, they doing a whole nother thing. So it's not even relevant anymore.
And that's crazy because we were one of those people where it was traders, and I think it was traders to then becoming. So the thing is, the biggest thing about trading is lack of capital. So we were like, okay, why not leverage credit? Right? Which is a smart decision. No one's ever done it. No one in our space has ever taught it. Most people just go to firms and then they fund them and they get a percentage. Not knowing that you could just use your credit card, right? And fund your actual trading account and you get a percentage. You know what I'm saying? And we did that route. But then people started having issues getting things deleted. So then we were like, okay, we need to figure out another way. Consumer law. Then it was Metro 2. Then it was arbitration. And then it just kept going and going and going and going. And then people kept asking, how did you get your family involved? You're doing all this, but how is your family? How did you do this? And so we were just like, we just need to do family stuff. And we did that. I think in our case, it was a bit different because it kind of like made sense, right? And people still come to us for these services. But I get where you're saying where it's like a shiny ball syndrome where it's like, you're hopping from crypto to then doing real estate. To then doing entrepreneurship and then doing a career in corporate. And then you're just bouncing and none of them really are relevant to each other. And so like it confuses your message.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. So
I want to pivot real quick to like the business side. Okay. Right? Because as much as we talked about, you needing, attracting new clients, getting them on a sales call, like I want to ask your process. Okay. Like, how many people do you have on your team?
So right now we probably got about 20. We probably got half the team that we had last year. Last year I think we had got up to like 37, 38, something like that.
Okay, cool.
I think right now we at about between 15 or 20 or something like that.
Okay, and what are your departments looking like? This is I'm asking you this because most people are interested in people's
for sure.
life.
So great questions. So we have our of course we got our marketing team, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have our enrollment department, right, with our advisors and so forth, helping people make a decision, right? And then we have our client success team, which is like, okay, all hands on deck, helping clients get results. Mm-hmm. And then we got our operations department. We're like making sure all the back end stuff is on point, the systems, the tech, all the departments are working cohesively with everything working. And then of course you got finance. So you got accountants and, things of that nature to make sure all that stuff is tight with taxes and everything that comes with that.
Okay, so I want to make sure that the audience isn't confused because I probably confused them. Enrollment is your salespeople, not your client success.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. Just want to make sure because I have heard people say enrollments for client success.
That makes sense.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like enrolling them, onboarding them.
That makes sense.
Into the program.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, so that's your fulfill. And you were like, so I want to make sure I had clarity on that.
Yeah. So the enrollment is the enrollment. That's the sales team. And then we got the client success team.
Got you. Yep. Okay. So for the people that are out there, I know I've had this question personally asked to me because we have around the same amount of people, 15, 20 people on our team. Mm-hmm. When it comes to client success, this is a subject that is not discussed enough.
Right.
Actually, if not at all.
If not at all.
You get what I'm saying?
Very true.
So from a business standpoint, what does client success look like in your company?
So with us, right, we have 11 principles as a company. Our number one principle is client obsession. Okay. So like we never make a decision if it's not in the best interest of our clients.
And are these like core values?
Core
or
values.
Just principles.
Yeah, the 11 core valuables / principles, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So number one is client obsession. Mm-hmm. We never make a decision if it's not in the best interest of our clients.
Right.
So it's like everything, because it's like over the years, I had to learn so much, right? So I became a generalist specialist. Right. So I know about sales, marketing, copywriting, social media, email. I've had to learn all that over the years because at one point it was just me doing all of that, right?
Of course, that's natural.
Now we have a team of specialists, right? So I'm a generalist specialist still. So I know a little bit about everything. Well, I know a bit about everything. Right. And then we have somebody who specializes in ads on the team. We got somebody who specializes in messaging on the team. We got somebody who specializes in tech on the team. We got somebody who specializes in the mindset piece and making sure your performance at the right level. We got somebody who specializes in like your offering, your launch phase and all that. So now they get the best of every world, all hands on their business. So essentially we tell a lot of our clients where it's like, we kind of give two analogies. Number one is like you got an entire board of advisors who's on board to help you with your event, help you with your company without us taking equity in the business, right? And it's also kind of like the Genius Bar when you go to the Apple store. You got all these individuals who are there to like help you succeed with what you have without charging you additional fees and upsells and all the different types of stuff.
So client success do they get paid if they upsell?
So...
Or do they have to refer
our
to
client success team doesn't really upsell. It's like once we help our clients, because we believe in this, right? If you serve somebody at the level they just paid you on, they're gonna want to know what's next. So it's like as they come through and they're like, this was amazing, what else is there? And then we see where they are and what's their next problems, right? Now here are some other opportunities, and if they decide to take one of those, yes, we do compensate the team. Because the team is on board and they're incentivized to actually help clients get results.
Correct. Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Because like I said, client success, bro, I've read a lot of books on client success. Yep. Only because it's not discussed.
No, for sure. Most people just like how to get clients. They're not talking about how to take care of the clients.
Exactly. Like the fulfillment, I feel like, and this may be like a touchy subject. I feel like the fulfillment is more important.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people say the sales is more important or marketing is senior to sales and that's more important. But I really feel like Like the marketing doesn't matter if you can't fulfill or deliver on what is needed.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
And we see a lot of that in the space, right? So you
Yeah.
mentioned before we started, you mentioned LTV, right? So lifetime value of a client, for those who don't know what LTV is. So it's like, if you take care of a client, so we got clients who've been with us 3, 4, 5 years.
Same here. Yep.
Right? So if you take care of your clients, they're going to want to stay. Now that increases your lifetime value of a client, which then increases the amount you can actually spend in advertising.
Exactly.
Because you already know, on average, our clients are going to stay with us for this amount of time. So now you're like, okay, we can spend more to acquire the client.
Exactly.
And if you can spend more to acquire a client, and you can spend the most to acquire a client, nobody else in the space can compete with you.
Exactly. We're literally hiring client success reps. I mean, we hiring. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like we're understaffed. Only because there's 3 of us. It's not like one person.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So like, it's like we need to build 3 different teams for business, at least on the marketing side. But like, we're definitely hiring for client success because we need somebody, like, we know how important client success is. You know what I mean? It's imperative.
100%.
Like for us, in order for you to become a fampreneur, right, which is a family entrepreneur, because our name is called the Fampreneurs, right? So in order for you to become a fampreneur, you got to get your credit right.
Yep.
You got to get your business credit right. You got to get funding. You got to establish a business, run a business, right? You got to establish family governments and governance and all that other stuff so that like your family business is different. Your family part of the business is different from the business part of your business. You get what I'm saying? So establishing those things can be difficult when you have 3 different CEOs. Do you know what I'm saying? So I know that the client success is important because we have to deliver on all those different things.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I definitely can relate to that. Going back to, you know, you having those different pieces of your business, different departments within your business. You mentioned finance, another subject that most people never talk about.
Nope, 100%.
You get what I'm saying? Like we talk about marketing. Everybody knows how to market. At this point, every strategy works. It's just a matter of how consistent you are with
100%.
it. Everyone knows about sales now. I mean, you could pretty much build a sales team on YouTube or from YouTube. We'd already talked about client success, fulfillment and all that, but the finance is not what people talk about. No. I actually tried to look it up. I'm not even going to lie to you. I tried to look it up and it's not discussed.
Right.
So like, could you break down like some key principles that, you know, a service-based business would need as a finance department?
For sure. So I think, it depends at the level of scale, right? So I think one thing is important is like having a really solid CPA.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you may or may not be surprised like how many businesses we've worked with when they come to us, they're doing 30, 40, 50, $100,000 plus per month and they don't have a CPA. Right. So it's like you find
one
yourself
of them at one point, telling you.
And what happens is, man, you find yourself where I know even for us, I was like running my whole life out of my business account. Right. Because you don't know, right? And then a lot of times you see people lose a shirt, and it's like you be like, man, whatever happened to such and such? Well, it's like, well, such and such didn't have to handle the finances, so now they got 2-3 years in. Now they didn't have the money for that tax bill, so it took them out. It's because we don't learn to finance. I saw an interview with Yo Gotti the other day, and he was like, he bought 15 houses cash, so he didn't realize since he bought the houses cash that he still had to pay property taxes.
What?
Yeah, so 5 years passed, and now he got a tax bill for these 15 cribs for the property taxes.
Not including the equity that increased on the property.
Yeah, so we don't learn it, right? Because a lot of people is like, everybody, it's crazy because everybody their mamas say they're making millions online and teaching other people how to do it, but most of them aren't. Because most of them aren't really like building businesses, right? So it's like when I started digging in, and I was like, so that's why we created a whole nother program for like our hiring clients, because I was like, man, like you just said, ain't nobody teaching this.
Nobody.
Right? So it's like building out your operations, building out your SOPs, building out your system, finance. So
that SOP part is starting to get a little attention only because, you know, you have like systems.
Connie.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's really bringing that out.
100%. It's important, right? Because if you don't got that, you don't got a business.
You really don't.
So back to your point. So I think, number one, you have a solid CPA. And I think depending on the CPA. So for us, we got two, right? Really? So we have one on the compliance side, right? Okay. Compliance side meaning taxes, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And then we have another one more as a CFO.
Man.
So it's two.
That's good.
You see what I'm saying? So like if you got, so a CPA, depending on the CPA, they don't really operate from a standpoint of like CFO services.
Right, of course.
So you want to have a CFO who can look at the numbers and be like, okay, yeah, we got the budget. You want to hire based on this. All right, we're spending this on advertising. We want to make these specific decisions. So that's more, that CFO is more on the strategic side. So, but if you got one who can do both, great. But you definitely want to have both aspects to that, right? So you want to have that. And then you want to have some type of wealth advisor. I think that's super important, right? And when it's your wealth advisor, it's like, okay, now when it comes, because you got a CPA who's going to help pay the taxes, help minimize the taxes as much as possible. But then you have a wealth advisor who can, all right, here's some higher level tax strategy that we may haven't been paid attention to, and here's some bigger opportunities. So I think having that on point at a certain level of scale is important as well. And then also I think insurance, right? It's like, how many businesses you know who don't have like basic business insurance?
Man, right? If you ain't never lied, oh my God. Bro, we took, you know Saida, right?
Saida, I think so.
Yeah, she's big in insurance space.
Okay.
And we were taking, we were getting our insurance license, right? Like we were actually training to get our insurance license. And man, we heard it. I knew about business insurance, but like there's a difference from hearing and knowing.
Yep.
Right. And so when we learned it, you know, like I always say there's a different level of standings, right? So like you have understanding, which you have a basic grasp, you have understanding, which means you got to your core, you're like, all right, I grasp this. Like I can't tell somebody yet, but I understand it.
I'm getting it.
I mean, you're right. And then you got overstanding, which is like, I'm like what we're doing, right? But to just completely have a conversation 100% over and over. And I had an understanding of business insurance, and I thought I had an overstanding of business insurance. Right. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like business insurance is crucial, but I didn't mean to cut you over like that.
No, I think it's important. So like, you gotta have that, right? And it don't cost much. But it's like it's very cheap. But it's like you don't. It's one of those things that you gotta have, right? So that and then I think also. It's two sides of insurance, right? You got the business insurance, and then you got the insurance on the personal side,
right? Which is like life insurance,
and then there's levels of that, right? So it's like, and you got to have experts, like legit experts in those areas. Like I don't know everything about personal insurance. I don't know everything about health insurance. I don't know everything about the different levels of insurance and how insurance can even be a wealth vehicle.
For sure.
Right? So it's like, I don't know everything about it, but I know enough to have some conversations and start asking questions, but all this I wasn't aware of. So when like in the finance area, it's important. And that's also on the personal side and the business side. Right. Because you got to have the business side of insurance, and then it's like, okay, how do you leverage this on the personal side as well? So it's like, I think, so that's all encompasses the finance department.
I'm glad I asked this question. Okay. Because I promise you, I'm so glad I asked this question. I promise you, nobody answers.
Nah.
Nobody really goes in depth.
Right.
About like the situation on the finance of what you need as a business owner.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? I told you we weren't going to ask the same questions that we usually do.
Sure.
So I think, and this is a personal question, but I know a lot of CEOs, or I say CEOs, solopreneurs who are wanting to get at the status, want to have, which is a CFO.
Yeah.
Right? And can you like break down the CFO position? Yeah. At least for your business, because you can only speak for your business. So I'm only asking for that because I'm pretty sure people can kind of get a gauge off that.
Yeah. So I think the CFO is Chief Financial Officer, right? So the whole goal of them is like to give you a high level, like a macro and a micro understanding of the finances in the business, right? So depending on how your business is structured, you want to have like, so we have this thing called the golden ratio, right? So the golden ratio, we want it to be where we at 30% pre-tax profit, right?
Pre-tax profit. Explain that.
So pre-tax profit is the profit in the business before taxes.
That's what I thought.
I didn't
want to like.
No, that's a good
how
question.
it sounded was like it messed my head up.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So that's the ratio. Not every month do we get to 30%. No, because some months it's like it depends on what you're focused on, right? You might be focused on scale. So if you focus on if you're in the scale phase, right, a crazy scale phase, you testing new ad campaigns, you hiring, you got a lot of different things going on. So you might be less profitability wise,
right,
this particular month or this quarter, but
because you're focused on something else.
But you're focused on something else.
Right.
The next quarter, it'll begin to stabilize because now you're catching up with some of that cash that you spent out. So let's say, for example, you hired a consultant and it was $50,000, right? You may not realize that return on that investment from that 50 this quarter, maybe. You can, but let's say you didn't.
Right.
But over the next 90 days, we will, especially after we start implementing, all the stuff. So it's looking at like, okay, here's where we are. Here's our overhead percentage. Here's our operations team expense. Here's our marketing expense. And then it's like, okay, are we within those parameters? And if not, why? If we are, or you may be too profitable. So for example, it's a whole nother thing where it's like
you can be too profitable.
You can be too profitable. So let's say, for example,
bro, I ain't never heard that before.
I'm gonna give you an example. so let's say, for example, let's say, because you hear it all the time. People are like, man, I'm running ads. We got a 2,000% ROI, ROAS. And now that can be real.
It does exist.
But what I know is that if somebody says that, I know they're not spending that much on ads.
Of course not.
Right? So they might have spent $1,000 and made $18,000 because they got 2 clients at $9,000 a piece.
Right.
Cool. They're not spending that much. But now it's like, if you're talking to somebody who spent $200K this month on ads, and they made $500K, it's not an 18x ROAS, but that's still an incredible ROAS.
That's
you see what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
So that's what it boils down to. But a lot of times you just hear the internet math online, and everything is like
I increased my appointments by 50x.
Right, but you was only getting 2 appointments.
Right,
so now you got 100. And now when people be like, oh, I had $1 million day, that's like, that was a big, I'm seeing less of it now, but I know it was like a thing for a minute. But then when you start digging in, you like, well, most of it is payment plans.
All of it is payment plans.
All of it is payment plans. So you like,
closed $1 million.
You closed $1 million.
You probably secured like 200-300.
Bingo. And then most of the people ain't gonna stick around after 90 days.
Of course.
So it's like, what did you really make? But again, it's the internet math, right? So you have a CFO and you can't make decisions based on that, right? So now we look at, so you have your CFO that's helping you get in, because us as entrepreneurs, like we are great at making money,
but not keeping it.
So you got to have somebody who have that expertise, who's going to give you this higher level macro and micro perspective when it comes to finance and like money in the bank. Do you got enough cash reserves just in case? All those different things.
Yeah, we've realized that we need a CFO.
It's important.
I'm not even gonna hold you.
Yep.
There's 3 of us.
Yeah.
So expenses can be high because there's three partners.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So we've realized that, man, this CFO position is needed. It's
100%.
not even like it's imperative to have a CFO, because we just need somebody that can be able to just touch up. So like, how do you communicate? Like, how does the communication work with the CFO position? Yeah. Like, how does that kind of dynamic work?
So typically we meet every other week.
Okay.
Right. So we meet every other week. I mean, I can reach out at any time, but we typically like have an official meeting every 2 weeks, and then we review the 2 weeks numbers. Right. So for example, he messaged me today and was like, "Hey, obviously this is the last day of the month, so we're not gonna have our regular meeting. We'll just do our September numbers meeting. So I'll be ready for that beginning of September, which is obviously next week. And then we'll review that. Here's where we were numbers wise. Were we off? Were we on track? Where did we overspend? That type of thing. What's the plan going into this, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, this conversation can get way deeper, but I'm gonna keep it at the surface.
Nah, this is good.
This is
good. I mean, this is a conversation,
but it needs to be had,
because a lot of people are playing business.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like just because you have an LLC doesn't mean you have a business.
You have nothing, actually,
you have
when
nothing.
You have an LLC.
Like, a lot of people are playing business. Like, for example, 97% of black businesses are sole proprietors, meaning it's just them.
That's crazy, because I'm glad you said that. You want to know what's crazy? I had an experience. I I want to say a month or two ago, right? I was applying for an EIN number. It was a specific type of EIN number to kind of like, I guess, convert my social security to an EIN.
Yeah.
Right? So that I can operate under my EIN
Yeah.
instead of always operating up under my social security.
Yeah.
Right? And so, just for the business,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So I called IRS and they were like, well, you already have an EIN as a sole prop. I was like, when did I even get a sole proprietorship in general? It was in college because I had thought sole proprietorship was a business.
Yep.
Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
And not and not even an LLC at the bare minimum. And I'm glad you said that because I even thought that. I'm pretty sure other people thought that. You know what I'm saying? And it's important for people to understand that sole prop LLC just establishing.
Yep.
It's not a business.
Yep.
Like you said, it's a planned business.
Yep.
So going back to the CFO, you said you talk every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Like what does the conversations kind of look like? So you mentioned that, okay, this is what the numbers look like, blah, 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 blah. Right. But like, how does that dynamic work when it comes to having a CFO? Like, let me rephrase. Where do you find a CFO?
So great. That's a really good question. So I end up getting my guy just for the mutual relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I can make an introduction if you want to.
Oh, yeah. So this is a contracted type.
Yeah. So we actually have a fractional CFO. So they're not like a full.
Yeah, we were looking for somebody at a fractional
I can
CFO
make an
too.
introduction for you.
For sure.
So it's not like our dedicated CFO that's just on our staff. They're fractional. And basically, for those who don't know what that means, it's like, okay, yeah, they serve as a CFO for us, but they also serve as a CFO for other companies as well.
Yep.
Which I think is a huge benefit because they get a ton of data industry wide. So now they can bring data back. Yeah, not sharing people's personal information, but they got a lot of perspective based on
what works, what doesn't work.
Bingo.
All those great things. Yeah.
Bingo.
We went to a I don't know if you Speak Your Way to Cash. You know this girl that's talking
Ashley.
about? Yeah.
Ashley Kurtwood.
Correct.
Yeah,
We
Ashley's
went to her event, Speak Your Way to Cash, in Alpharetta, I think, like a month ago.
Yeah, Ashley's super dope.
2 months ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a super dope individual.
Yep, she's
right?
dope.
And then I saw
Ashley
one of
and
her
Chris,
people.
yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I saw one of her speakers. She was talking about, I'm a fractional CFO. That was the first time we ever heard of a fractional CFO.
Yeah.
Mind you, we had just got off of a conversation with Tony.
Okay.
With the ads guy who does funnels and all that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I did Tony's show like a month or two ago.
Yeah, we need to get on his show too. I'm gonna text him, get on his show. But he does fractional CMO. You know what I'm saying? Because he runs the ads and you get a percentage, this, that, and the third. And it was the first time that we've heard like a fractional of any executive position.
100%.
So I'm like, man, we need to figure out what we can do to get at least a CFO in a position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what does that even look like pay wise? I know it depends on the per business, right? But I know that a fractional CFO isn't like a fully 6-figure, not like 9-figure career type of deal. Like, but how does that look like on a CFO position?
So it depends. It's more like a retainer base, right? So it's almost like it can be similar to or comparable to like hiring a ad agency or something like that, right?
Oh, okay, cool.
So just depending on the people and then what all do they do. So for example, our CFO doesn't necessarily do our taxes. They could, but they don't, because remember I told you we have somebody on the tax
does
side.
the taxes, right?
Right. So it's more so the strategic finance to assist with that.
So this isn't like going back to the tax person before we even continue with that. You have a tax strategist or just a CPA?
Both.
Okay, cool. So because I know that those are two different people.
100%.
You get what I'm
100%.
saying? So for the people that are out there, regular CPA is just for like, I like to say just for the season.
Yeah.
Right? They're there just for the tax season, days, months, whatever.
So my CPA is there year round.
Right, 365.
100%.
Right, exactly. That's how ours are. It's 365, right? That's a tax strategist. They help you. What's the best word to describe a tax strategist? They help you.
So I think mine.
It's like a very touchy word.
So I think mine. So I got a really cool dynamic, right? So my CPA, Barbara. Shout out to Barbara. She helps from a tax strategy standpoint, all that compliance stuff, right? I also have a wealth advisor / tax strategist who has other insights of opportunities to on the tax side, right?
Right.
So my CPA, she's by the book, so she's like boom, boom, boom. My other guy, he'll bring some stuff to the table, and she's gonna vet it, and now they can collaborate and work together on it. And she'll be like, huh, and then she'll run it through her filters and be like, boom, 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 ask all the questions that I normally wouldn't have asked. I didn't even know to ask.
Right.
And
that's their job.
And then she'll be like, okay, let's do that, right? And now the whole team.
And that's what you
together.
want your finance team to be. I was reading this book called Traction. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Great book.
Yeah.
And they were talking about an accountability chart,
Yep.
which is different from an organizational chart, which is keeping each person accountable for what they're doing,
Yep.
which is similar to what you were saying. You
Yep.
both had you had a conversation.
Yep.
Person was keeping another person accountable by dotting I's,
Yep.
crossing T's,
Yep.
making sure things were
100%,
correct.
100%.
Because the tax strategist, their job is to help you keep the money, but they also can cross some lines, when they're not supposed to.
Yep. So you gotta make sure you
gotta
got
make
the
sure
ones
it's right. You got to
who
make
not
sure you got the
gonna do
right
all
ones
that.
that's not going to do that.
It's kind of like, I know y'all talk about, I know you mentioned the Black Rockefellers, right? So if you think about, if you study like wealthy families, which I know you do,
Of course.
it's like the Rockefellers and cats like that. It's like they got these family offices, right?
Yes.
So it's like,
That's what we're developing right now.
that's perfect, right? And it's like we are as well, right? So it's like you have this family office of your insurance people, your tax people, your attorneys,
Yeah.
and it's like now they work together collectively, and they know that the mission is to protect, preserve, grow the wealth.
Correct.
And everybody's like having conversations of like, what's the best way? Your financial advisors, all that. What's the best ways to actually do that?
1,000%. And I feel like that's. And I'm glad we're hovering or really diving deeper in this topic, because these are conversations that entrepreneurs need to think about.
Yeah.
Like family offices, having those things in place, because no one talks about. I mean, this is probably the first podcast that I've ever heard somebody diving this deep into the finance side of of anything.
Yeah, because everybody's talking about making money.
Right.
Making money is
it's either money or mindset.
Yeah, and making money is easy. You get a product, you sell, you can solve a problem, you know how to market it a little bit, and then you sell it to somebody. It's like,
and it's a recycle.
But then what? So now when you got too much money in your bank account, it really works out, and you got too much money. Now what do? Right?
Exactly. I feel like that's the thing. Now you mentioned, speaking of too much money, you said person can make more, like too much profit.
Too much profit. Yeah,
like what does that mean?
I got off track. You're right. Thank you for bringing me back to that. So let's say, for example, that's how I got on the ROAS with the ROAS.
Correct.
So let's say, for example, depending on your scale goals, right? If let's say I told you about a 30% profit,
Right.
If it's 70%, that means we're not leveraging the money. There's an opportunity rather to leverage this money better, right? So, for example, if it's 70%, we could have spent more on ads. Or is there an opportunity to hire to make the team more efficient? You see what I'm saying?
Got you.
Like, how can we better utilize
this
money?
It's like you're not reinvesting your money back into, so it's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there.
Got you.
Yep.
That
So
makes
what could we do? What
sense.
could we have done with that other 40%? Whether that's putting it back into ads, hiring team, doing this. Like, how could we better utilize?
That makes complete sense. And that's how people stay stagnant when they don't do that.
If you have growth and scale goals. I mean,
Correct.
some people are like, look, I want 2 or 3 people on my team. I want to make $2 or $3 million a year, 80% margins. I'm good.
You know what's crazy?
And that's fine.
I was watching a podcast, and this guy is a one-man team. One man, there's just him.
Yep.
It makes $10 million a year.
Yep.
I think he's a copywriter or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, dang, how do you like?
Yeah.
That's a different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a life in that type of way,
Yeah.
or he charges such a high premium price.
It makes sense, and then he probably get like royalties and stuff like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think it just depends on your growth goals and stuff like that, right? Some people don't want to grow and have massive scale and stuff like that. Some people want to just like $1, $2, $3 million a year.
Yeah.
They take home $1 million, and then boom.
Until inflation hits, then they got to make more money.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
So I think it just depends on the goals.
And I was listening to Grant Cardone. He said that 10 million is the new target because 1 million is like 100,000 now.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to pivot real quick because I know we talked about finance, and that's such a huge topic, and we could probably dive into that like crazy, right? Which is good to have. But I want to discuss how you grew to where you are now, right? And I'm gonna ask a question real quick. How much do you make a year now?
So, I would say we're at 8 figures.
Okay,
Right.
8 figures. That's good.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an observer, bro.
Right.
You got Richard on your wrist. You feel me? Like let's not cap. Like you could people wear the sweatpants and the shoes and you got the rings and stuff, but I am a watch person.
Makes sense.
And
Makes sense.
a person has money based on their watch.
That makes sense.
Let's just be honest.
That makes sense.
Right? You could buy a fake Rolex, but you can't buy no fake rich. Okay?
Makes sense.
You see what I'm saying? So you're at 8 figures, which is good, which is not good. It's great.
Okay.
For melanated people.
Yeah.
We don't get to that point without going through some blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
So the reason why I asked that question is, like, what did you have to go through to get to this point?
So, man, what didn't I go through, man? And for the record, man, this actually is an Invicta.
What?
Yeah, it's actually an Invicta.
You lying.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's actually an Invicta.
You lying, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually an Invicta.
You know what's crazy? It looks very similar. I mean, I'm glancing at it because it's on the side, but like it looks very similar to a Richard.
Yep, I got it. You know what's crazy? It's an Invicta. I forgot because they don't even make them anymore. Because I was trying to get another one, but they don't even make them anymore. So I got it probably like 5 or 10 years ago. Like this particular version of it. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So the question was, what didn't I go through? Right?
That's true.
You go through it all, right? So it's like I don't have like a formal. I don't have like a like traditional business background. Like I was like before all this, I was like selling drugs in the streets. I started an entertainment company doing artist management, club promotions. I got introduced to network marketing. And then went through that whole thing. And then I got introduced to the online marketing world, direct response marketing and stuff like that. So I dove into that. And then throughout this whole process, my mom passed, my brother passed. Throughout this whole process, all the money that I had from the streets, that I ended up taking it and started investing it into learning this online stuff, going to events, ended up blowing through all that money. Got to the point where my girlfriend, who's now my beautiful, amazing wife, was paying all the bills and all that while I was trying to figure this online stuff out. So went through all that, got to the point where I was doing everything, right? Things started to happen. Then I was doing everything, and then I transitioned from doing everything to actually start hiring teams. And then you go through everything that comes with hiring teams and training teams and everything that comes with that, which is a whole nother. So I was telling one of my clients the other day because they was like frustrated because they weren't getting clients, and I was like, well, congratulations, because that's your frustration now. Right. Eventually, your frustration will be the clients that you have, because now you have so many clients, and then you got to hire a team. Right. Right, and you'll be frustrated because you don't have a team. And I was like,
it's like the bottleneck.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, exactly. And I was like, then when you hire a team, I was like, guess who was going to be your frustration then? And I was like, then your team is going to be your frustration, right? And then you're going to get to the point where you're generating so much revenue. Now you're like, your frustration is going to be, how do I minimize the taxes on this revenue, right? And then it's going to be like, okay, I got too much revenue in my account. I got too much cash in my account. What do I do with that? And then you're going to frustration and be like, okay, how do I allocate all of this
just
stuff?
Just the
right?
level of problems keep increasing the more money you make.
And it's great, right? So it's like, I mean, I think you rather have the money, you rather have the problems that money creates than the problems that the lack of it creates. And it's fun. I think it's a game, right? I think business is a game. So it's like, it's kind of like you unlock, like when you play Mario growing up, right? You unlock this level. Right, exactly. Right? And then you get to that level, and it's like, you know, when you was playing like Mario or whatever, it's like, man, you get to this one level in the game where it's like, you trying to beat this level all week. Like when you at school, you can't wait to get home and jump on the game. Relatable. Yeah, you like, man, I can't wait to get home. I think I figured out. And then you get to this big monster, and you like, now you're trying to figure out how to beat this person. It might take 2 weeks to finally unlock that level. And that's the same thing as business. Like you get to these levels, and now it's like, okay, now you get to that, and now you unlock this other level. But it's like, okay, or do you just quit the game.
Right. You can just click the quit button.
You just click the quit button and move on to something else. Or you can be like, okay, you grow personally, and then you increase your frustration. I got this thing. It's this thing called the frustration quotient. So when you increase your frustration, the higher levels of frustration you're able to deal with, the higher levels of success you'll be able to have, right?
Right.
So it's like once you do that, now you unlock another level. That level may be 6 figures, that level may be 7 figures, that level may be 8 figures, that level may be 9 billion, whatever it is, right? And it's just continue to like put this like jigsaw puzzle together basically. And that's what business is, just a puzzle. It's like, okay, now I'm just missing this piece. Now you put that in, you're like, okay, now I need this piece. And now you put that in. Now you depend on the puzzle you want to build, right?
1,000%. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie to you. This gotta be one of the best podcast discussions I've had in a long time. Because we talked about a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of things.
It's a masterclass.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, because we talked about finance, which is what, like I said, most people don't talk about. We talked about client attraction and how to actually build the system. We talked about, the struggles about business, which I like to call like the dark side of entrepreneurship, because a lot of people don't discuss it. Yeah. They think it's all, we see a lot of lifestyle marketing, but we don't. But I feel like we need to see dark side of marketing now.
I think it's not even like. I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think it's just the real side of entrepreneurship, right? Because it's like most of the stuff you see on the internet about entrepreneurship is just cap, right? Yeah. So it's like everybody's talking about their wins and nobody talking about their challenges. Everybody talking about the months where they had this big revenue because of this challenge or this webinar or this event, but they ain't talking about all the chargebacks that they got, or they ain't talking about the refunds, or they ain't talking about the salary that they had to pay the team, or they ain't talking about the months where they didn't make no money, or there was, you know what I'm saying? So people ain't talking about none of that stuff. It's just like all glitz and glamour. Then when they sell somebody on this lifestyle and people come in and they have some real challenges, and now they start thinking it's them. They're like, oh my God, it's just me. It's just me. It's like, nah, this is how this thing really works. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever, like even with fitness, like you will see the shredded body, but it's like you ain't see the loose skin. You ain't see the loose skin. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the same thing in business. Like people ain't giving people like the whole picture.
I want to ask you one last question for this discussion real quick. And it really tied into what you said, what people don't see. Yeah. And we were talking about how, showing the real, how does someone show the real side of entrepreneurship? Because we know lifestyle sells. Yeah. So how do we know if the real side sells?
I believe that authenticity sells. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think, let me say it this way. So I think most people would rather believe a lie.
Facts.
Right? Most people would rather believe it's easy.
Yeah, for sure.
Most people would rather believe it's everybody's winning online. Most people would rather believe all they got to do is buy this course or buy this new AI software. They would rather believe that. Right? However, the authenticity is the long play. It's the longevity. So if you think about the music industry, right? If you think about, Cash Money, right? Oh, Cash Money, they came out. It was flash, glitz, boom, boom, boom. It was that, right? They're not really around anymore, though, right? No. On the other hand, you think about J. Cole, authenticity, right? So even with Cash Money, they was flashing, but the core wasn't really getting no money for real. Right. Like Bird and Suge, they were getting the bag, but these
Drake and Nicki.
Right. But you think about J. Cole, authentic as they come, J. Cole will be able to tour 20, 30, 40 years from now. Yeah, and he'll be still filling arenas because he built it based on authenticity, and then the stories he was telling was based on his he didn't come out saying like I'm a gangster or I'm this or I shot cats or I used to do this. It's like, no, it was just straight authenticity. Just like Drake. Like Drake, you kind of saw Drake kind of make a shift a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know about this Drake.
Yeah, that man got too many, we got too many versions of Drake right now.
But he went back to like his core. His core is what fills arenas.
For sure.
And then he brought 21 on to show that side. And now he can just be authentically Drake. Mm-hmm. And then that's the longevity play. You just being you. So it's like me, I don't want to be. Some people ask me like, Marquel, why you don't wear jewelry, or why you don't, get the cars, and why you don't? So I'm like, that's just never been my style. Even when I was getting money in the streets, I didn't do all that. And I was like, well, you got to flash online if you want people to see you as successful. I'm like, if I got to do all that, Like, it ain't meant for us to work together.
No,
like,
for
it ain't nothing against cats who do that, but it's
very
like,
true.
that just ain't my thing. I like to sleep good at night. When you see me out, this is who I am. Like, you don't look successful. I mean, you are successful. And it's like, most people don't know what real money look like anyway. So why would I be out here trying to show people that I'm successful? Because they wouldn't know real money if it was standing like in front of them. So it's like, it's a losing game.
So true. I worked as a server and I saw, I'll never forget this moment, bro. I was working as a server at Papado and I judged the mess out of this white guy. He came in looking homeless.
Yeah.
I mean, his clothes was ripped. I mean, this wasn't like the style of ripped. You know how you usually have distressed and the thing looked like
these real.
This was real, like it looked like somebody ripped the clothes off of him.
Right.
And he ordered like the fanciest, the most expensive thing on the menu. I think he ordered like crab legs and a pasta, a salad, the biggest drink, alcoholic beverage. And I was literally judging him I never say it out loud, right? Because I'm not about that life.
Yeah.
And he left me $100 tip. Then we had a conversation. He was like, "Yeah, I own. I think it was like some big company, some corporate company in the area, but he was a billionaire.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I was like, hold up. I looked this man up on Google. I cannot remember his name to save my life, but I looked this man up on Google. He was not lying.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it, man. When you really are that, you don't gotta look like it. When you're really that.
That's old money, right?
You know,
there.
it's old money. So like, I just posted before I came over here. So a year ago, because for a while I had my car that I wanted on a vision board, right? I ended up getting it, right? So then like last year, I was like, man, I want to do this, and the third. So I ordered this car last year. I customized it, put the deposit down, the whole nine, right? And then the Ukraine thing happened with Russia, so that delayed the delivery of it, right? So they emailed me on the 8th. And was like, and my operation director, she forwarded to me and was like, hey, and they said, hey, your car has arrived. So I went back and forth with the lady, and I was like, after we went back and forth, I was like, I don't even want it. Like, cause it's like, to me, growth is the things that you used to value that you thought mattering.
Right.
You realize they don't even really matter. Right. So it's like, I go to the gym. I go out to eat every now and then. I may go to an event. It's like, why would I spend that on a car that's going to really sit in the garage for the most part?
That's very true.
You know what I'm saying? And then with cars, like the inside is for you, really. Like the outside is for everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So I'm like, why would I spend that? It don't really matter to me no more. Because for what?
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and again, this ain't saying I don't like. I think my biggest splurge is like travel. So it's like, because I love travel. So that's my biggest splurge. But outside of that, it's like, I'm really at the house for the most part. I ran home, got dressed to come do this, and I'm going back to the house after this. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. Well, look, my man, I appreciate you for coming out.
For sure.
I feel like this conversation was insightful.
100%.
I feel like this is one of the best conversations that I've had on the podcast because it's needed for our community as entrepreneurs. But can you let the audience know like where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, all that? Yeah,
so I'm really easy to find, man. So I'm like, whatever your favorite social media platform, Marquel Russell, Marquel Russell. If you have a service business, coach, consultant, attorney, personal trainer, you want more clients, you can go to paid@playbook.com. So that's PAID at playbook.com and show you how to get 50 to 100 leads every single day that actually convert into clients, and you can get it all for 100% free.
There you go. See, we talked about a lot of money on this podcast, but at the end of the day, he's giving it to y'all free.
For free.
You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Well, look, y'all, appreciate y'all for coming out. Y'all tuned into another episode. So I want y'all to like, comment, subscribe, and leave a review, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.